Good morning. Today we are going to be doing some drama about being a paleontologist, and we're going to do this in preparation for writing our blogs tomorrow. We're going to use this blog, A Day in the Life of a Paleontologist, to help us really get into character. So this is a blog that is written by Jack Seng and Camille Gros, who are postdoctoral fellows in the division of paleontology. That means that they are doing PhDs in paleontology, fossil hunting. And they're in Inner Mongolia, that's next to China. And this is Jack's post to really help us. A typical day in Inner Mongolia begins with a hearty breakfast. Unlike elsewhere in China, the proximity of towns and cities to large sheep ranches here guarantees a feast of freshly boiled sheep pots at the crack of dawn, usually accompanied by sheep cheese and milk tea. The guilt of such a high-calorie intake is enough to motivate a lazy hiker to prospect vigorously for fossils later on. Luckily, the vast grasslands and rock exposures offer plenty of space to burn off the fat. Yes, literally the sheep fat we just consumed. So use this picture to imagine what your breakfast might be like if you were on this particular dig in Inner Mongolia. Prospecting is when they go looking for fossils. Okay, so they've got there's the prospect of finding something. So you're going out to go fossil hunting after a very big breakfast. Whatever food is left over from breakfast is usually divided up among the expedition members to be taken in our individual packs as lunch. This saves time as our unpredictable fossil hunting schedule does not always allow for reassembly at lunchtime. Before we leave each base camp town, we also need to make sure we take enough water, both potable and non-potable. That means you can drink it or you can't drink it, to drink and to make plaster castings with. In case we find something worth excavating, then we all head out in our four-wheel drives. So imagine packing up your backpack in the morning. Think about the things that you would take with you. I'm thinking food, you've got water, two bottles of water there. And then it says to make plaster castings with, so think about what you might need in order to make a cast if you found a fossil and you needed to make an imprint of it so that you know what it looked like and you could take it back with you. And what would you, if you found a fossil, would you put it in a little plastic bag for evidence? And if you were digging up the fossil, what tools might you need? There they are driving out. About half of our usual stops in the Inner Mongolian Gobi represent previously known localities, either from our own expeditions or from another era, such as those discovered during the museum's Central Asiatic expeditions. So they often go back to the same places as they've been before. As inquisitive field paleontologists, we are always looking for new places to uncover new fossils. But a seasoned field worker never overlooks the importance of going back to known sites. Why? Even at the most surveyed fossil sites, nature works its wonders through wind, rain, snow, and tectonic activities. Existing rock layers at the surface, where most of the previous fossil discoveries are located, are slowly weathered away each year, exposing fresh surfaces that have not been studied before. So think about how a fossil is created. A quick recap about how fossils are formed. So firstly, an animal dies and some parts of the body decay, that means rot, and usually only the skeleton is left. You can see then the skeleton is covered with sand, earth, rock or seabed before the bones can disappear. So there's a layer above the skeleton. Over a very long time, the bones break down and leave a space in the earth like an empty mould. So the bones kind of rot away and there's an empty space. Minerals slowly fill the space in layers in the exact shape of the bones. Now, during this time, many other layers have built up above the skeleton, compacting the skeleton down and forcing this imprint into the earth. And under lots of the pressure, the new minerals harden into rock. and the earth is eroded away by the weather or the sea, or by tectonic plates moving and shifting the rocks above it, like an earthquake, and the rock is exposed, and that's when the fossil is discovered. Existing rock layers at the surface, where most of previous fossil discoveries are located, are slowly weathered away each year, exposing fresh surfaces that have not been studied before. By a bit of diligence and a whole lot of luck, sometimes we can catch a glimpse of a fossil with just its tip exposed on the surface, indicating the potential to find the rest of it, be it a single bone or parts of a skeleton, just beneath the ground. The less the fossil is exposed through weathering, but exposed enough for us to locate it in the first place, the more likely we can find complete bones within the rock. So now I want you to imagine that you've arrived at the site and you're going to be looking for fossils. Now think about, is it a site you've been at before? Is it a whole new one? Are your tools already waiting for you there? What sort of tools do you think you need? What are you wearing for this expedition? And where do you start? Do you go off to the side of a rock? Do you start in a completely new place? We arrive at a fossil site via the help of GPS and geologic and satellite maps. After agreeing upon a time to meet back at the vehicles, we fan out in search of bones. A typical day pack includes water, food, plaster bandages, rock hammer, a GPS unit, field notebook, plastic bags for sorting fossils from different localities, acrylic consolidant, and glue. Those are two things that you need for stabilizing fragile fossils, a brush, dental pick, an awl, binoculars for surveying rock outcrops in the distance, or for bird watching when no other paleontologists are around. Okay, so this guy's given away a little bit through his humour of what he's interested in, bird watching. This is an awl. I just looked it up. Think about what you might use that for if you were looking for fossils. So now I want you to imagine yourself looking for fossils. How do you feel? Have you done this before? Are you new on the dig? What is it that you're looking for? For the most part, our day is filled with blessed solitude in the Gobi. That means it's really silent. The loudest sounds we hear are either our footsteps crunching over the hot, pebbly hills or an occasional dust devil, a small area of rapidly spinning wind that contains sand or dust, or a herd of sheep. See how here the writer has explained some of the important stuff in brackets. This is not only a time to find new and exciting fossils, but also to reflect upon our own scientific journey during the rest of the year, when months of indoor research in front of a computer and in the middle of the urban jungle that is New York City numb your senses and distance the fossils you study from their primary context in the ancient rocks of some of the most desolate landscapes that remain on Earth. Desolate means that there's nothing there. It's like a desert. So you are hunting and hunting and hunting for fossils, and then I want you to imagine that you find something. What is it? Is it the tip of a bone? Do you feel something and you realize it's a fossil? What do you think it is? Have you seen anything like that before? Who do you share it with? And what do they say to you? Once you dig it out, does it meet your expectations? How do you dig it out? And what are you going to do with this new and exciting fossil that you have found? Are you going to take it to a museum? Are you going to put it on display? Now, the end of the day, he says here, is a time when they reflect and they talk about what they've seen. It's a time of celebration. The expedition members, no matter whether they are a professor or a starry-eyed undergraduate student, gather around in a kindergarten-style show and tell. This is often the most emotional time of the expedition, the excitement of seeing new and unknown fossils, and the disappointment of not having the best find of the day. That's okay, it starts again tomorrow. So this is your last activity for today, and I want you to think about what you would say. What are you sharing? And your questions are, what did you find? How did you feel about it? Who did you show it to? What do you think it might be? And what are you going to do with it now?